Welcome back. Now, for one to attain considerable wealth in life, financial discipline is an indispensable tool. It's really important when you're talking about savings and investments and stuff like that. Now, it's not something that every individual can lay claim to. It takes practice and lots of knowledge. Now, joining us to talk about this and to also to give us tips on how to manage our finances this year is Dr. Joseph Adjison. He's a cryptocurrency and finance expert. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, sir.
Thank you very much, Yomi.
All right. So, financial discipline. Let's start from the beginning.
Okay.
It's a new year, so people are thinking, okay, I need to change my finances or, maybe take it to the next level and all of that. But what is financial discipline?
Thank you very much, Yomi, for bringing me on this show. It is very important for me to first enumerate the definition of terms. This word, financial discipline, is two words put together, the adjective, financial, and the discipline itself. Now, according to Joseph Adjison, that's my quotation generally, I believe in this saying that money is a defense, but lack of it is an offense. So for you not to be offended by not having money, you need to be disciplined. Now, the first and most important thing is to understand what the word discipline is. Discipline is a pattern of behavior or a way of behaving that shows the willingness to obey certain rules and order in order to achieve set objective. Mark the underlined word, a pattern of behavior. That means it is not a one-off thing, it's an all-time thing. You don't say you're disciplined today and tomorrow you're not disciplined.
It's a continuous process.
Until it becomes an habit and becomes a way of life. So if you are not involving yourself in this regard, you may not be able to achieve financial discipline. Also look at the word willingness. You are not coerced to be disciplined. You make a personal decision to be disciplined. According to Miles Moron, it says, if purpose is not defined, abuse is definitely inevitable. So if you did not define where you're going to, speed is useless. If you don't know where you're going to, your speed is useless. Now also look at the word obey rules. You set the rules, or perhaps you read books on how to be financially disciplined. Follow the instruction that has been laid down by the writer of the book or by the speaker of such a topic and engage in it, then you get results. Because I believe in this, when you follow the example of those who have succeeded in their financial discipline and get results, definitely you get the same results. Now,
I like the direction that you're going. I wanted to talk about what you said about purpose.
Okay.
That if purpose is not defined,
abuse is inevitable.
Abuse is inevitable. So is the first thing that you need to, when it comes to financial discipline, is that the first thing you need to understand? Purpose of what money is for.
Exactly.
Should that be the context of my mindset, for instance?
Now, the first thing is the purpose of what you want to do with money, what money is for, and what you want to achieve.
Yeah.
Because if you don't know what you achieve, okay, for example, if your motive is not pure, then your financial future is not sure. Note that. You may want to do what others are doing, but if you do not have the personal willingness to do it, even if you embark upon it, you would derail along the line. And that takes me to the word finance. Finance is a very broad word that let me just summarize the word finance in a compound sentences. Now, finance, according to me, is the science of money management and also the process of acquiring funding. Now, when you talk about saving, when you talk about spending, when you talk about investment, when you talk about debit and crediting, definitely you're talking about financing. And that takes me to what financial discipline actually is. Financial discipline is how well you are able to manage your spending and your savings in order, according to set plan, in order to achieve your monetary goals. Now, the problem we have with so many people is that they want to achieve more than they are earning. Not quite well. In ledger, you have you have less credit coming into your accounts and more debiting going out. Now, check out the debiting. Check out what you're spending on. You discover that most of them are liabilities and not assets. And we are in the new year. We need to check this because if you keep doing what you're doing before, you will not get a different result. It's just foolishness to be ashamed of what is gainful. So I tell people practically, if you want a new change, then change your approach.
All right, now we're talking about changing your approach. I mean, it's a new year, so a lot of people maybe taking stock from last year, 2017, they've said to themselves, oh, I made so much money last year, but where is it? Maybe at the end of, during the month of December, they were doing this, buying that, putting this together, and then suddenly they enter the month of January, and then they can't account for all the money that they made in 2017. What are the practical steps I can now take in 2018 to ensure that that doesn't happen at the end of the year? Maybe when I now enter into a new year, at least I'll be able to say, okay, yeah, so this is what I did with this money.
Yes.
This is what I invested this money in. At least I have this money somewhere. So are there practical steps that I can take?
Definitely there are practical steps. A practical step if you're willing to do it. Now, I take it from here, anyone who makes so much money and cannot account for it lacks accountability, and that's also a deficiency in financial discipline. Now, in order for you to achieve a success in your finances in this year, the first step is to have a financial plan. And now, what is financial plan? Financial plan are four thoughts that helps you to decide in advance how to spend, where to spend, what to spend, for whom to spend. You don't just say you want to spend because you have the money. Money is a spirit, for crying out loud. In fact, the greatest wise king that ever existed said this. He said, money is a defense. Wisdom is a defense. The excellency of wisdom is that it delivers those that have it. It gives life to those that have it. Now, what is now wisdom? Wisdom is the application of knowledge. Now, you're getting the knowledge, you are not applying it. That means you're unwise. Now, financial planning is the first and most important thing. Then after that, you follow up with your plan, which is the second step, religiously. Now, if you look at the definition of discipline, there must be willingness. You must avoid every temptation to spend what you, to take out of your money what you have not budgeted for. It's financial indiscipline if you spend what you have not budgeted for. Now, I tell people practically, if you are earning 100,000 naira, you should allot this money to different needs. Look, we're talking about budgeting generally, just because budgeting is one of the practical steps you have to take, and there are even budgeting software online. If you don't know how to do budgeting, go online, Google it. You will see budgeting software, and you enter your expenses, and it will roll it out for you. Now, what is budgeting? Budgeting is the monetary implication of our activities, daily, weekly, monthly, yearly. Now, if you have that planned out, then you will be able to know what goes into what comes into what. And I also say this, why budgeting? You must be sure that you allocate some money to your transportation if you're working. Let's say you have 10% allocated for transportation. I haven't calculated it.
Yes.
Most of the time, you might not even have to spend with that if you have close proximity, distance to where you're working. According to George Carlson, he said 10% of what you earn is for you to keep. We pay others, we don't pay ourselves. That's why some people run into financial deficiency. You pay yourself 10%, we are left with 80%. You're feeding 10%, check it and make sure that you don't eat beyond your means. People say financial discipline is all about living within your means. I said that is wrong. If you live within your means, you will have something to save, but you live less than your means so that you can have something extra to save. So 10% is for you to keep. You have for welfareism. Of course, you cannot do without people coming to meet you to seek assistance. Have some percentage set aside to meet people, and when you exhaust that, oh, sorry, I do not. And you're not really telling lie because all your money has gone to where they're supposed to go to. And the one you're even saving for yourself should be for investment at the end of the year. Now, you also set 10% aside for your upkeep. In terms of you want to buy clothes, you want to go for law, you want to enjoy yourself. You must, if you look at it, you set aside for your parents, take care of your parents, both if you're married, your in-laws are there, everyone are there. Yeah. And you set aside for your children and the likes of your wife upkeep too. If you plan your income in this regard, you will not have financial stress. Now, another thing I tell people to do is know what you are up against. Because if you don't understand what you're up against in terms of financial. I talk about the forces of debiting and crediting. If you don't know what you are up against, you definitely have a wrong relationship with your finances. And this make me say this again. I say a relationship without a mutual understanding will lead to martial acts. If you do not have a mutual understanding with your finances, you will end up crying before your finances or your finances crying before you.
Okay, now let's go back a little bit to this issue of planning. You were talking about somebody with a salary of 100,000 added on the month, and then you've allocated this, and you're disciplined, and you're keeping to it. Yeah. And then you're going along the way, your phone drops, and you go to the phone location, and they tell you it's 25,000 to fix the screen.
Okay.
That's an incidental that you didn't plan for.
Yes.
So, and a lot of times, because you need your phone so much, you can't use it and everything, you have to take money out that you didn't budget for.
Yes.
Same thing with if you're driving your car
Yeah.
along the way and a crazy bus driver hits you on the side,
Yeah.
and then you have to park your car and then you have to do something. So how do you plan for incidentals?
That also goes into your planning, because aside from having some certain amount set aside for your upkeep, aside from your transportation, aside from your, look at it, it's going to be 10 arms. You must have some certain percentage set aside for contingencies, which is unexpected expenses. If you set them aside every month, they accumulate and you'll be able to use it for whatever you want to use it. And also, the one you're setting aside for yourself is going to go into financial investment. If you can keep a certain amount of your income for a period of 12 months, you will look for a business you put the money into that will be generating additional income for you. Now, that could be used to solve even other things that are even beyond your expectations. So that is how it works.
All right. So, Doc, let's talk about low-income earners.
Okay.
Low-income earners, 25,000 a month, 35,000 a month,
Yes.
40,000 a month.
Yes.
So I'm a low-income earner. I live in Lagos. I have to pay rent. There's a
Yes,
couple of
yes,
other
yes,
things that I need to do. What do I do with 40,000 in a month?
Okay, let me explain it from this angle. Life is in phases. Men are in sizes. So live your size according to your face. Now, the problem is that no amount of money is low or high to determine what you can do with it. I have some people that are earning 50,000 naira and they built houses. And I have people that are earning 1 million naira, they're still living in rented apartments. Do you want to tell me that it is the money that determines what they become? No, it is the planning. So it's not about how much I'm earning. If you don't even have what you're earning now, you will still survive, even if you're not earning anything. Because man is built to survive. We are survivor being. And that's why you can see a man goes into the thick forest and tame a lion and bring the lion to the zoo. So why didn't you say the man is harmless and the lion is going to tear off the man? We are naturally endowed with the aptitude to adapt to all situations. That's why we have 5 sense organs. So if you know you're earning less, then don't live a life of make-believe. Our problem in this part of the world is that we're living our life of make-believe. I have a business partner in the UK sometimes, and we got to talk, and I said, oh, he asked me, where's my office? I said, I'm here to set up an office, but I'm working from home. He said, Joseph, that's a wise thing to do. Work from home. You don't need to impress anybody. You don't need to go and set up an office that you don't have the money to finance.
Wow. I mean, what you're taking us through, I'm happy that we're having this conversation at the beginning of the year. And lots of people are watching right now, and you're already stirring up ideas in their minds, and they're thinking, oh wow, I need to start being disciplined with my finances. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you so much.
We hope to have you again probably in a few weeks to come and review some of the things that we've been doing with our finances, and hopefully give us maybe like a definite plan or a template that we can use for our finances.
No problem.
Thanks so much, Dr. Joseph.
You're very much welcome.